Once you've written the divorce papers, pack your things quickly and get out of my house, my husband said, sneering provocatively. Beside him, his mistress was dreamily looking around the house. Wow, all this high-end brand furniture. How lovely. It's a house that fits me perfectly. I felt a twinge at those words and reminded my husband. Just so you know, I'm taking all my personal things with me on moving day, okay? Then my husband looked at me as if he was about to burst out laughing. Of course. If your stuff was left behind, it would just remind me of the miserable days we've had so far. Apparently, he still doesn't understand the true meaning of my words. Just watch. Make sure you don't regret it later. My name is Karen. I'm a 26-year-old interior coordinator. My husband Joseph is 31 and works in the construction industry. We met through our hobby of DIY and have been married for a quick 3 years. At first, we cared for each other, but now I feel grateful we didn't have children. The reason is that Joseph has become too self-indulgent. After coming home, he carelessly takes off his coat, eats the meal I prepared while complaining, doesn't even clean up, and retreats to his room. Before marriage, we made various agreements. One of them was shared household chores, and Joseph and I decided to share them equally. But now I'm taking on almost all the housework. I point out to Joseph that he should do his share of chores, but incredibly, he made this excuse. Housework is easy, so it's natural for women to do it. Men have to take responsibility for work, so I don't want to do housework. He started to easily throw this rigid opinion at me, which he had never voiced before our marriage. The fact that I earn more than Joseph has also played a big part in him turning against me. But by the time I reach Joseph's age, I'm planning to be independent and should be able to increase my income even more. Perhaps sulking about that, Joseph put only the bare minimum of his earnings into the house without saving and spent it however he liked. He was so reckless with money that I warned him time and time again, but he stubbornly refused to change. It's my hard-earned money. How greedy can you be to still want more? Not content with just that, he exaggerated to his coworkers that his wife was an outrageous miser, winning their sympathy. It was Joseph's generosity with money and the perception of domestic unrest that attracted his affair partner, Linda. She's 24 years old, working at Joseph's company as a temporary employee. There are a few young men at my husband's company, and even those a bit older are still considered young. That's probably why 31-year-old Joseph caught her eye. Poor Joseph. If I had a handsome husband like you, I'd take care of him forever. Believing her words, my husband quickly became infatuated with Linda. I noticed Joseph's infidelity about 6 months ago, just when the affair had begun. One day, an unknown woman called Joseph's mobile phone, and when I searched for her name on social media, I found Linda. Today's date with my future husband at a fancy restaurant. I'm so nervous since it's my first time. She posted such words along with several photos of a man recognizable as Joseph. I saved all of them and also retrieved their exchanges from Joseph's mobile phone. From the dates, conversations, and information about the places they visited, there was no doubt that he was cheating. When I found out about my husband's infidelity, I was neither angry nor sad. I just felt empty. I understand that getting lectured when coming home tired isn't comfortable, but all those things were necessary for our future. Maybe I was too harsh, but to have an affair just because you're fed up with family after only 3 years? I let out a heavy sigh. Certainly, I can't afford to be down and do nothing. I've been working hard, thinking that compromise was necessary between us, but I simply can't tolerate the cheating. I'm going to divorce him. I started looking for a lawyer to divorce Joseph. 1 month later, on a Saturday, I decided to bring Joseph and Linda together for a discussion. Naturally, they were shocked when I contacted Linda. They probably never thought I would find out about the affair, but perhaps out of joy for the marriage, Linda seemed really thrilled. She neither apologized nor tried to justify the affair to me, and immediately said, Karen, are you really okay with this unprecedented compensation? I'm so happy. I calmly replied to her, That's right. Joseph and I decided before our marriage not to divide our assets. At that moment, Linda held hands with Joseph and celebrated. Yes, Joseph and I had talked beforehand, even about what would happen if we ever divorced. In exchange for not dividing the assets, the compensation I would receive was also small. I was working too, so I didn't mind that part, but what made me angry was the complete lack of remorse for the adultery. How wonderful to live in such a stylish house with you, my love. And all the furniture is from a high-end brand. The appliances are the latest too. It's just the perfect house for me. I felt a strange sensation at those words, and as I handed over the divorce papers, I confirmed something with Joseph. Even during our marriage, there's no division of the things I bought. I'm taking all my personal belongings with me. You do understand that, right? Joseph, seemingly not understanding what I meant, paused for a moment and then spoke. It's obvious. Your plain clothes and bags wouldn't suit young Linda anyway. I have to buy her better things. If I leave your belongings here, I'll just be a reminder of the painful days we had together." It seems he misunderstood, thinking I was talking about personal belongings as in clothing. Oh well. It's easier to let him continue thinking that than to start a fight. Tomorrow the movers will take everything, so be prepared. The two of them were already ignoring what I was saying, looking around the house's interior. It seems Joseph doesn't understand the meaning of no division of property. But that's none of my concern. Take a good look while you can. Oh, I can't wait for tomorrow's move. The next morning, they came to see me off as if they were hurrying me to leave early. Ignoring them, I was waiting for the moving company's arrival. Then, right on time, a large truck arrived. The workers energetically called out to me. "Thank you for choosing us today. We have another truck waiting nearby, so please don't worry." Linda, with a clouded expression, hesitated as she approached me. Do you have that many personal belongings? I held back a laugh and barely managed to answer. The house itself belongs to Joseph, but all the appliances and furniture are mine. That's why I said there will be no division of property, remember? Hearing that, Joseph rushed to me, his face turning bright red. "All the furniture and appliances are mine. They've been in this house for 3 years. Just take your stuff and get out, quickly." I had reached my limit, and I finally burst out laughing. I had a feeling, but he really didn't understand what no division of property meant. And just because it's been in the house for a few years, it's his. You must be joking. "Hey, you're not really planning to take everything, are you?" Perhaps panicked by my attitude, Joseph lowers his voice to check with me. Meanwhile, the movers were steadily continuing to transport the furniture. "Don't worry. The only memories of living with you, I'll leave behind." Then Joseph, in a panic, ran to the study. I always kept copies of the receipts there, so he must have gone to check which pieces of furniture were being taken, but checking was in vain. There's not a single piece of Joseph's furniture or appliances in this house. Joseph inherited this house from his parents, who owned it as a rental property. Not wanting to spend money on his personal life, he had furnished it all with secondhand furniture and appliances. When we got married, Joseph disposed of all the furniture he had, so I bought all the furniture and appliances. Of course, all were the latest and luxurious famous brand items. Being an interior coordinator by profession, I was quite particular about the design of the furniture and appliances. Moreover, after trial and error, I placed the upscale furniture in visually pleasing arrangements. I think it had an opulence that made it look far from a second-hand house, even if I say so myself. Linda couldn't help but be enchanted as she looked around the room. Meanwhile, Joseph came back with a pale face. By that time, the house was already being cleaned after the removal. Literally, not a speck of dust remained. Linda kept screaming at me, "This is terrible! I can't believe this is happening!" Finally, a worker looked around the house and asked concerned, "The house is empty now. Are you sure this is okay?" "There's no problem since I'm moving out what I bought with my own money. Please deliver it to the address where my parents are in the new house," I said. Then the workers jumped into the truck and drove off briskly. "Hey, I didn't hear about this. What are you going to do?" Linda was still angry, coming at me again. Just then, a car pulled up from behind, and she jumped in alarm. "Wait, who's coming out? What are you plotting?" she yelled. Perhaps she realized I was still up to something. She looked utterly bewildered. "Karen, it's been a while. Is it true you're giving me the wallpaper?" A friend of mine emerged from the car. "That's right, the wallpaper too had been custom made by a designer I met through work, and I paid for it to be completely replaced. So even the wallpaper was my personal property. Since this type was reusable, a bit of maintenance and resizing would allow it to be used again without any problems." You're gonna peel off the wallpaper too?" Linda was staring at me in disbelief, but my friend just shrugged and began to peel off the wallpaper. "Please, can't you at least leave that alone?" My husband pleaded with me, but I ignored him. "If you see my personal belongings I left behind, you'll be reminded of me. And that's unpleasant, right? That's why I decided to give it all to my friend." Having said that himself, he couldn't correct it, and he was confused and panicked. Generally, if you replace all the wallpaper in a house, it costs at least $5,000. Since they have to buy new furniture as well, it's undoubtedly a painful expense for them. I had all the tasteful furniture and appliances removed without leaving a single piece, and even the wallpaper was peeled off. Now the house looks older than its actual age. To live a sweet life in a room that looked good before the contractors came in. For the two of them, who had such a dream, it must be an unbearable reality. They seemed to have no energy left to complain to me, and Joseph and Linda were dumbfounded. After seeing off my friend with a smile as she collected the wallpaper, I got him in the car. "Well, this is goodbye. Farewell." I casually bid farewell to the two of them and left the empty house behind. Afterwards, I used the furniture and appliances in my new home, but I soon got sick of the fact that Joseph had used them and called a friend who was a buyer to sell them. Fortunately, they were in very good condition, and I was able to sell them for a higher price than expected. What kind of furniture should I buy next? Where should I place them? As I was thinking about these things, I got a call from Joseph after a long time. Linda just won't stop going on about having you arrange the furniture. Come to the house once. I didn't want to meet them, and it troubled me a lot, but my interest as an interior coordinator won out. What kind of furniture had those two bought? What kind of interior design did they want? All right, I'll go just to hear what you have to say. I found myself agreeing. Really? Remember, you promised. Joseph exclaimed with apparent joy before hanging up. On the promised day, I arrived at their place and was shocked at what I saw. They hadn't even re-wallpapered. And as for the furniture and appliances, it was all obviously secondhand stuff gathered from used goods stores. It looked exactly like a cheap apartment where a student might live. A whole month had passed since we parted ways, and this was just too much. Wait, what is this? This is beyond an interior design problem. I was at a loss for words. Linda took this as an insult and exploded in anger. We gathered this stuff just to live for now. We'll replace it soon. Since you took everything, use your connections or whatever, and make this a house we can brag about to our friends. She seemed to be very unhappy with a life surrounded by secondhand furniture and appliances. She was irritated throughout our conversation. Even asking for the budget, it wasn't enough for my fee. What's this? You're a talented coordinator, but you can't do this? You're useless. Facing Linda's indignation, I was dumbfounded and explained. Any coordinator, no matter how skilled, can't do much with such a limited budget. This is ridiculous and way beyond connections. She seemed serious about having me arrange high-end brand furniture and appliances on such a tight budget. Linda, now entirely frustrated, finally began to explode in anger. What? Ridiculous. Did you come here just to look down on me? If you don't like it, I'll leave, but if you want to furnish your home on that budget, you should at least polish your interior sense. You really are making fun of me. But just because you have a slightly fashionable job, don't get so overconfident. Hey, stop it. Joseph tries to calm Linda down with a weary look on his face. Joseph, say something to her. Just stop it, both of you. Linda, please be quiet. I'm sorry for the noise. After everything, I had to marry Linda. But as you can see, she's angry all the time, and it's tough every day. Apparently after I left, they had a big fight in the now empty house, but since Linda had already quit her job to get married and had reported the marriage to her parents, she had nowhere to go. Joseph confessed that he married Linda solely out of compromise so she would take care of the housework. But such a marriage was bound to fail, and thus he had given up so soon. Please, Karen, help me fix our relationship again, begged Joseph. I responded, clearly annoyed. What's this? Planning to cheat on me next? No, the thing with Linda was just temporary. Confusion. After you left, I realized that there's no one more wonderful than you, Karen. You're not serious, are you? I suddenly realized I had raised my voice. You're the one who told me to get out of this house, right? I divorced you, just like you wanted. You can't possibly expect me to change my mind now. Please, Karen, don't call me by my first name so casually. This rundown house is your chosen castle with your affair partner. You two should get along together. Wait, Karen. Ignoring Joseph's pleas, I quickly left the house. It's not worth satisfying curiosity by looking into someone else's downfall. What a life lesson, I thought to myself. Later on, I heard that Joseph and Linda begged their parents to help with the cost of purchasing furniture and appliances, but they were apparently disowned by both sets of parents. No one would help with buying furniture and appliances, let alone forgive them for marrying after an affair. So they reluctantly continued to live in that second-hand house. I can't even muster any sympathy for them anymore. It's the result of their actions. As for me, I recently met a male interior designer through work. Lately, on weekends, we've been going out together quite often. I've been cautious about dating men for a while, but maybe it's time to think about starting a new life. With those thoughts in mind, I'm off on another date today.